Hi, this is Reece Healey, and welcome to another segment of Tell Me a Story in 2 Minutes. We're going to continue with Into Thin Air, Chapter 3. Guess what? I have a larger copy of the book, so hopefully I can get through this a little bit quicker. But I do promise once I've completed this book, I will be introducing stories of less than 2 minutes, give or take. So here we go. Michael kept driving without stopping, heading east towards Montreal. It was only the day before Michael had received a tip from someone he had never spoken before, letting him know that Christine had been spotted on the west island of Montreal in Pierrefonds in a 3-story apartment complex off of St. Charles Boulevard. Even though Michael couldn't be sure that Christine was in Montreal, he more or less asked himself, what did he have to lose by overlooking the fact that she could very well be hiding out there? There was only one problem. Christine didn't know anyone in Montreal. No family or any friends that he could speak of. He tried to listen to the voice over the phone, replaying it over and over, and still, he couldn't place it. Michael was convinced more than ever that Christine had been living some secret life. Was there another man? Another woman? Michael just didn't know, but he was going to find out one way or another. How determined he was going to find her, no matter how long it took. As Michael continued on his journey, he was starting to get hungry, and looking at his watch, he realized that he had been on the road for more than 3 hours. He was halfway there. As he pulled over to the next rest stop, looking for a parking spot, his attention immediately shifted to a woman resembling Christine. Could it be her? He asked himself. He had to find out. As he turned off the ignition, he opened the door, slamming it shut as he ran towards her, nearly out of breath. Michael was now inches from her, and as he approached her, he grabbed the back of her shoulder and, to his dismay, realized that it wasn't her. The lady immediately turned to look at Michael, who was a little startled at first, but then gave him a flirtatious smile. Of course, Michael didn't have the time for this, so instead of stopping to talk to her, he apologized and ran into the restaurant for a quick bite. Michael was beginning to think that wherever he looked, he would spot someone resembling Christine, and it was going to drive him crazy. Michael more or less knew that this was to be expected, and as he ordered his food, he decided to take it to go, quickly got in his car, and continued the drive just a couple hours away from the border of Quebec. The thing is, driving to Montreal would be easy, but Michael hadn't a clue where to start. The good news is Michael had made up some flyers with Christine's picture, and the plan was to pass them around to anyone and everyone he interacted with, be it the hotel receptionist to ordinary folks on the street. Somehow, he knew he would find her. He had to, one way or another. Michael knew it would not be an easy feat, as he didn't know anyone in Montreal himself. The other problem Michael had yet to encounter was the fact that he didn't speak French. My God, Michael knew that most folks in Quebec, whether they were English or French-speaking, had a disdain for English-speaking Canadians, especially those from Ontario. The thought of what he was going to encounter made him slightly sick to his stomach. Michael had visited Montreal about a dozen times, and he always got away with speaking English. But this time, he knew his basic high school French would not cut it. But then he remembered. He had been told that Christine had been spotted in the West Island region of the city, which was an area that was predominantly English. Okay, Michael thought, perhaps this won't be so bad. Michael was now approaching the Quebec border as he continued driving east along the Trans-Canada Highway. The fact that he had officially crossed the border, all the signage was in French, and his GPS told him that he was half an hour or so away from his destination. He then grabbed the note he had found on his front porch and read it again. The Holiday Inn, which was right off of St. John's Boulevard, was now a few exits away, and Michael had decided that he would stay there. Maybe he would get some answers there. And just as he approached his exit, the hotel could be seen off to his right. Nice-looking hotel, Michael thought. Yes, Michael would stay there, and as a slight rush of adrenaline kicked in, he immediately pulled off the highway, and before he knew it, he was driving into the hotel parking lot. He then sat there looking up at the building and wondered what he would find there. As soon as Michael walked through the doors, he was greeted by a 20-something-year-old female with long black hair and the most piercing blue eyes he had ever seen. She immediately smiled at him and greeted him in both English and French. The look on Michael's face was one of relief in knowing that he might perhaps get away with not having to use the little French he knew. If he attempted to use any kind of French, Michael knew he would be laughed out of town. Montrealers, on all accounts, were not always the most patient people around, and Michael was prepared to be treated a little more harshly since he was from out of the province. But he didn't care. He was on a mission, and that mission was to find Christine. And then something strange happened. After Michael was given his fob for his hotel room, a man immediately approached him, tossed a note in his hand, and ran out the door. The note simply read, "Hello, Michael. I've been waiting for you. I know you're confused, and I can't say I blame you. I know you must be wondering why I left, and if I am being honest with myself and you, of course, it is because I've been living a different life apart from the one I had with you. What you may not know is I love the chase, and I also love being chased. So, if you love me, really love me, then try to find me. And if your attempts are successful, then maybe, just maybe, we have a chance. You know that I'm no longer in Montreal, and as you read this letter, I am headed to the airport to be with my lover. You see, I knew you would come to Montreal to find me, and there is a part of me that is touched that you would go to such great lengths to do so. But now you need to prove to me that you would go to greater lengths." Michael put the letter down for a moment and tried to process what he was reading. What kind of woman had he married? What kind of lunacy had he gotten himself into? And then he looked down at the note and continued to read. "You know how much I love the beach and the cool ocean breeze. Oh, how I would love to be at this very moment at the beach on my favorite island." And then it dawned on him. Michael knew where Christine was. Her favorite island was St. Thomas Virgin Islands. If Christine wanted a chase, then she was going to get one. He then looked down at the note and continued reading. "This will be your biggest test, Michael. Come and get me. Let's see if you can prove to me once and for all how far you will go. And one more thing, since this letter is typed, you have no way of knowing if it was me who wrote it. You'll have to take the risk of not only attempting to track my whereabouts, but also discovering that I may no longer be around by the time you reach me. So, do you think it was me who wrote this letter, or somebody else who was looking to trap you? Let's see how far you'll go. Love, Christine, or somebody else who is watching you." Michael had no idea what this meant. It was one thing with having to deal with the disappearance of his wife. He now had to contend with the notion that she could either be in trouble or conspiring with her partner to set him up for something. That's something he had to find out. Michael decided to stay one night in Montreal before heading to the airport on a flight to St. Thomas. Well, there you have it. Chapter 3. Thank you for joining me for Tell Me a Story in 2 minutes. Please tune in for Chapter 4 next time.